Hey hi guys, so I just finished reading this book. It's called Blink, The Power of Thinking Without Thinking. It's actually fascinating. There's a story in there about a black American who was killed by the police, an African American who was killed by the police. His name was Diolo. He was killed back in 1999. So this book is kind of looking into the first 2 seconds when we glance into something, or when we whatever happens in the first 2 seconds, either you meet someone, a car accident, or whatever it is. So it's about following your instincts in those first 2 minutes, in those first 2 seconds. But though, thanks for coming back to this channel. So I'm basically doing this consistent video where I chose the beginning of this year that I'm gonna at least upload 1,500 videos on YouTube. I bought a camera last year in December, so I thought if I can buy this camera, I'll be able to produce more videos off of my YouTube account. So literally on this channel, we're gonna be learning more on consistent and everything that has to do with world affairs, with what affects me and you. So basically, while I was reading Blink, The Power of Thinking Without Thinking, I also realized, like most people, for us, we tend to live on autopilot. Like we are primed to think one way or the other. Our societies are based on social conditioning, and most of us don't think things through, like especially like now with things that are happening around the world. Instead of us making a plan, it's easy to blame the government or anyone who you think is in some sort of power to change whatever situation that is happening. But for me, it's not that. For me, it's more than that. For me, it's beyond like what we are being social conditioned to. Because when you come to think about it, like we had seen it coming like all this time. Did you know that COVID just wiped out all the bill of rights, no matter what country you're from, man? Because it's now you cannot say something that is different from what the media is already pushing. You cannot say something that is different from what the government was told by who or by world organizations. But now what is worse is that they are kind of making it difficult for businesses around the world to keep moving forward, because with the conditions that have been set and new policies that have come into play only in the past 1 year, bro. It's like you are not allowed to do quite a lot of stuff, of which most functions and most businesses survive on that only, but we are not allowed to push that through. So it is actually something that is really, really serious and should be looked into. But besides the fact that I started this consistent thing where I'm compiling myself to at least produce 1,500 videos, and today is the 26th of June 2021. I'm pretty much aware that with everything that I have learned so far and everything that I've been trying to do, I only realized that my life should be based on faith. Not just faith, but faith with actions and results as well. Because without me thinking of faith, or without me doing my life or moving in the order of faith, trust me, right now things will even be worse than what it seems. Because I'm grateful for what I have, and I'm grateful for what I'm going to have, and I'm currently grateful for whatever I'm doing right now. Because most people, we tend to complain more about what is happening in our lives than we tend to appreciate. Because it's easy to just point fingers and blame the world for whatever is happening to you, either it's good or bad. It's easy to blame the world and just push that around the world. But that's not the truth. The truth should rely on us being able to depend on what we are capable of and what we can do as individual. But besides that fact, we have still to fight. We still have to fight for our lives, and maybe today or tomorrow, but we still have to participate in the big change. It doesn't mean we should adapt to it, but we should set ourselves aside, and make sure that we don't become part of the problem, because it's easy to discuss solutions without literally going into it's easy to discuss problems without literally discussing solutions. And that's easy because everyone seems to, we're inclined all to complain, and we are all inclined to complain to this one system in particular. If you think the government is corrupt, then what are you doing about it? If you think this COVID thing is killing business, then what are you doing with it? Because COVID has killed has placed more people in poverty than any previous decade. And I think it's not COVID on its own. I think we as people, we could have dealt with it better. I mean, we could have done much more better than what we are than what we were social conditioned to, they've made things worse, even for those that are from the lower levels. I think it's the government policies, not the COVID. The COVID isn't the problem. People have dealt with viruses with viruses over a very long period of time in history, so we wouldn't be surprised having COVID. But what is surprising is the kind of policies that are being pushed with our own governments, the kind of these lockdowns, and they're not helping anyone. And for that fact that we are being pushed into a vaccine world where we are trying to vaccinate at least 8 billion people, with unproven with unproven vaccines, to say for that sake. They are still in an experiment. We haven't seen what they are capable of in the next 10 years, in the next 20 years. It's like setting a bug into our own DNA system, of which most of us don't have a solution to how we can solve the problem, because sometimes it's easy to judge it from the outside perspective, but if you don't have a relative who died from it, or who was affected by it badly, or someone who's sitting in a hospital, it's kind of hard to believe. It's kind of hard to believe that it does exist, since it's something that you cannot see. And we as human beings, we have had a problem with agreeing to something that we do not see. We always have a better point. We always see things from a different perspective, which is okay to have our own opinions. But when our opinions start affecting others at a bigger pace or at a bigger rate, becomes a problem, not just for us but for those that surround us as well. So this is where I'm coming from. I believe in other people, but I don't believe in all people. I trust other people, but I don't trust all people. So that's the same thing that is happening right now in the world. Like, we are being pushed, especially for African countries. I mean, we find ourselves putting ourselves on lockdowns, and all of these African countries have some of the highest unemployment rate in the world, and for the fact that they cannot access vaccines, and they cannot access a lot of World Bank money to at least give citizens when they are in distress. It's not the system itself, but it simply shows that we are adopting to systems that work for other countries but that will not work for us. Like in South Africa, there's 30 upward plus unemployment rate. In Zim, there's like 90 plus unemployment rate. In Lesotho, 50 plus unemployment rate, and all these countries, but they seem to be inclined to put citizens on lockdown, of which it's easy to put that as a policy, as a government policy, because most government officials don't live outside of don't struggle. They never saw struggle even a day. They never been in this kind of life, but it's easy to push ideologies that themselves will not survive under, but they are just making it a burden on many people. But complaining about it won't solve any problem, because we have had issues with our own governments for ages now. We've been trying to make sure that we have like democrats all over African countries, but that just doesn't work, because we are dealing with the army doesn't know who do they serve, and all of that. All the political entrance of it don't end. So thanks for watching my video, and you gotta subscribe and like and comment if you wanna keep up with me, or if you wanna see how I'm gonna do on this 6 months challenge. Can you believe it? We're almost left with like 6 months to end 2021. Your time has been moving fast. I don't know either it's my side or it's just how it is, but don't really appreciate it when time is moving fast and I don't get to see like a lot of work on my end. So if you never read Blink, I suggest you go and read it now. You'll find it quite useful, especially if you have like a lot of temper problems, like you got temper problems. I suggest you read Blink about what happens in the first 2 seconds when we engage with other people, or the moment that we are angry. So like, did you ever try to debate with someone who's angry? You won't even last. So that's the idea, and that's what he was bringing up in the book. It's like trying to argue with a dog. You cannot win. A dog remains a dog no matter what. So with that in mind, I've always also understood that my problems, man, like in the world, we should learn to understand that my problems ain't your problems, and ain't your problems and my problems. But at the end of the day, if your problems are not solved and my problems are not solved, we all fall into this chaotic world where it's beyond order. We cannot change it, or we cannot reverse it, but at the end of the day there is something that we can gain from this. I mean, the understanding on its own, like learning what has happened over the years and how that has made an impact on us, not just on your life and mine, but on many people as well. How is that impacting the way we live? How is this impacting the future? And can we say the future is gonna be brighter, is gonna be clearer? Because most people were left in debt, bruh. Like houses were lost, man. And the funny thing is, most billionaires had like their financial gains during the depression, of which it happens every 10 years if you haven't figured that out. In 2008 it happened. In 2003, between 2001 and 2003, there was a depression again. Back in the 80s, back in the 90s, around 1991 to 1994, I think there was another depression during that time. And every decade we should have a depression. But the funny thing is, there's always someone who's benefiting from it. And now I'm starting to think maybe it's an orchestrated depression that happens every year. Some people have to gain more and others have to lose, both in the stock market or whatever market that you are in. And most people that have Amazon just gained a lot of its stock went up last year, man. And Elon Musk's stocks as well went up, but they fell later because he's too talkative and he's always on Twitter, plus he knows what he's doing. And all cryptocurrency markets are down, so it's kind of hard right now for others that have been depending on those markets. But what I want to say is, like, outside of all this pain, you should find what is good in it. Like, we as human beings, we're inclined to only see what is bad in every situation, but I don't think everything is bad. I think it's how we perceive it. It might be bad, yes, but I think it's how we perceive it and how we want to perceive the future and our futures as well. Can we see something positive out of the negative situation, and how can we convert a negative situation into a positive situation? And that doesn't cause too much of a crisis. If we start perceiving our world better, we're likely to do better, we're likely to do better stuff, and we're likely to be better individuals as well. Not just for our own sakes, but for the sake of our families, because it is the way that we perceive the world. If you perceive the world in anguish and anger right now, all what you're doing is you're not solving the problem, but you are just inviting more anguish and anger around the world. And for most people it's been like that. That's why our bodies fall sick to these things, and the more that we focus on them, and our bodies ain't really in that more period where we should be satisfied with what is happening. Even if we are not happy with the situation, we shouldn't let it affect our inner peace. And due to consistency and me trying to be consistent on this video, sticking, and we're gonna see how we can solve the negative energy into positive energy. As for me, like now I'm doing like this 20-day challenge where I have to meditate every day and read a book by Renda Bain called The Magic. She's also the writer of this book called The Power, the Secret, and they all share the same thing, the synchronicity with destiny. So get to understand that. I think you change the perspective on how you see this world. Thanks for logging in, guys.